Hey, what's up, guys? It's Prynce. You know what it is. It's another episode of For the Culture. Man, today is a very special day to me. I know I probably say that all the time, but I'm for real. Like, this guest that we got on today, she's a phenomenal human being. She has an extensive, resume right here, and I have to take the time to read this because you need to understand who she is and what she does, right? So, this incredible human being is a gender and responsible sourcing specialist at the Congolese nonprofit Ponzi Foundation. She has been developing Ponzi's ethical jewelry brand through the establishment of a traceable and exclusive mine to market model with local and international partners. Her current role also seeks to address the relationship between structural inequities, conflict related sexual violence, and mining by collaborating with local and international stakeholders. Nicole, I didn't want to say her name yet, but she has a master's degree in African Studies at the University of Oxford and holds a BS in International Business Management from the University Applied Sciences in Geneva. As part of her undergraduate studies, she spent a year at the University of West Alabama in the Black Belt region. She is currently pursuing a second master's degree in mining law in Africa at the University of Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nicole Namezi Batumike. Did I pronounce that right?
Batumike.
Batumike. Okay.
Thank you.
But so let's thank you for coming on. We
Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
you for being here. We're gonna get into some things that. So first and foremost, for the culture is about talking about things that goes on within our culture, not just in the United States, but worldwide, right? Um, I think that it definitely needs to be a stronger connection. I think it may be headed that way, but a stronger connection between African Americans and Africans abroad, right? Just black people in general, all over the world, right? But I want to get into this. I want to, first ask you, what are your roots and where are you from?
So
Oh, damn, Nick. Let's run it. Yeah, my bad. Yo, she should have chopped me over here like, yeah. Bloopers. Let's keep them bloopers, man. Keep that. We're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep them bloopers though. Put it back. Yeah, that was supposed to happen. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna start this over. We're gonna do this thing again. I apologize, y'all. Yo. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Prynce, and it's another episode of For the Culture.
Hey, and I'm Lanae Gary, and we're here, y'all. We're back with another episode.
That's what it is. She's so quiet when her voice is so low. But look, y'all. Look, today's guest that we have on, uh, this is a very special moment for us, for the show, for the culture, because I feel like this is for the culture. Today's guest, she's a phenomenal human being. She has an extensive resume. So, like I said, I want to take my time to, you know, read this and really let you guys know what she's about because it's very important. So, bear with me. But today's guest, this incredible human being, is a gender and responsible sourcing specialist at the Congolese nonprofit Ponzi Foundation. She has been developing Ponzi's ethical jewelry brand through the establishment of a traceable and exclusive mine to market model with local and international partners. Her current role also seeks to address the relationship between structural inequities, conflict-related sexual violence, and mining by collaborating with local and international stakeholders. She has a master's degree in African Studies at the University of Oxford and holds a BSc in International Business Management from the University of Applied Sciences in Geneva. As part of her undergraduate studies, she spent a year at the University of West Alabama in the Black Belt region. She is currently pursuing a second master's degree in mining law in Africa at the University of Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nicole Namezi Batumike.
Yeah.
Did I? Got it. Got it.
You did.
And I'm gonna practice that. I'm gonna practice that. You know. But thank you for being here.
Thank you
what
for
I mean?
having me.
Yeah, this is important, man. First and foremost, before we get heavy into it, tell the people a little bit about yourself as far as like, you know, your roots and where you're from.
So I am Congolese and Swiss. I grew up partially in Switzerland and moved to Congo in my 20s to work with the Prynce Foundation. I very much have been my entire life focusing on going back to the DRC and working in the Eastern region, or the many different regions that we have in the DRC that are, so rich in so many ways.
Okay.
I think you've said most of the
Yeah,
things about
yeah.
me, so
Tell the people what do you like to do?
what do I like to do?
Yeah, what
well,
are your
I think
hobbies?
I'm very passionate about us and about our liberation. I think, as you've mentioned, for me, being able to go to university in Alabama in the Black Belt region was also a way for me to confirm that what I really want to focus on is our liberation in general. I think that, as Malcolm X has said, we can't think of straightening up Mississippi if we don't think about freeing Congo first. I'm very much of that opinion that Black lives won't matter if African lives don't, and if we continue to exploit the African lives, if we continue to exist on systems that weren't created for us. I think those are the things that I like to do, to very much focus on that and be in spaces like the one that you've created to recharge.
Yeah, you for the people. You know what I'm saying? You for the culture, and that's what it's about. You know, and she walk it like she talk it, because I met you coming into my store. You know what I mean? Coming in to support Black-owned businesses. So, you know, that's a must out there, right? Yeah. That's one of the things that we must do, is support each other. You know, I know us as African Americans got to get it together right here, because we don't do a lot of that, but it need to be done so we can do this abroad, right? But, you know, so you're from the Congo, you're Congolese, right? And it's a situation, a genocide that's taking place in the Congo right now. I want to get into it too, but I want to hear in your own words, you know, what do you think the conflict that's going on in Congo right now, what's happening?
So the conflict in the east of the country, so that's where I'm from. I'm from Bukavu, which is in South Kivu, in the very border to Rwanda. So you have South Kivu, and on top of it, you have the province of North Kivu, and then you have the province of Ituri and a few other provinces. The province that's below us as well, which is Tanganyika, is also affected by the war. But we are at the border with Rwanda, Uganda, and it's very important to actually understand the geopolitics of it and the geography of the DRC and who our neighbors are, to actually get what is happening today. I'm going to be careful with how I present it because I think that it's very important to also understand that it's very much linked to the West. It's very much a continuity of the types of genocide that the DRC has been going through, even under the different colonizers, especially Leopold II, the King of Belgium, who owned us at some point, and at some point eliminated half of the Congolese population for rubber. I think it's important to understand that all of the genocides that we've been going through and the elimination of the Congolese people, the destruction of our social fabric, were always linked to different minerals. So you can think of rubber, which was why Leopold II was cutting people's arms and killing people at the time. It came with the industrialization, it came with the revolution, the car revolution here in the US. You then can think of the world wars and the uranium, and you can think of the passing of Lumumba in a similar period. And so you can then think some step ahead, and you can think of the smartphone revolution and the coining of the word in 97, and on the start of the Congolese Second War in 98. So you can just think of all of those association. But then when you think about the war today that has been going on for 30 years, that is a war that was started off right after the Rwandese genocide. So you had the genocide in Rwanda, and you then had the who we call, or who the international community will call, the génocidaires, so the people who committed the genocide, who fled to the DRC. Kagame, so Rwanda's current president, had the idea of coming to Congo to get them and get them back to Rwanda for them to get tried. Museveni, who is the current president of Uganda and was the president of Uganda at the time, wanted to support Kagame in this effort. And we then had Kabila Muze, who is the first Kabila that we had as one of our presidents, because we had the Kabila father and Kabila son. But Kabila father is the one who prepared the coup with Museveni and Kagame when Mobutu was in power in what I'm sure you have known as the Zaire of Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. And so they prepared the coup, came into the DRC in 96 and went all the way to Kinshasa to get into power. Since then, we've had Rwandese people in power in the DRC. So since then, this has been almost 30 years of them being in different positions. At some point, our chief of the military was Rwandese, James Kabarebe. He was the chief of our army and of the army of Rwanda at the same time. So that obviously informs you on the forces that were behind our military and still can be in different ways.
So I think it's real important, right? Especially for our listeners out there, because it's a disconnect. A lot of people don't know what's going on. And I think some of the things that you just spoke on, one thing that you need, Congo is considered the heart chakra of all of Africa and all of the world. And that being specifically because of all of the minerals, like everything on the periodic table, except I think like 2 elements is in Congo, right? And you spoke on King or dictator Leopold, right? The things that they did to the Congolese people at that time, and it's worse than Hitler. And Hitler is terrible. He's like, so I think you can't mention Hitler without mentioning Leopold. The things that they were doing, and then the cutting off of the limbs of like the local people there and things of that nature. Like people need to know in detail what happened right? So that I think that they'll be able to understand what continues to go on to this day, right? And it's important to know that yes, it's a war going on amongst the people, but there's puppet masters
Yeah.
that are orchestrating these things, right? It's just like here, right? The different things, like people sometimes look at the news and the pictures that's being painted, right, on the local news here about like the violence that's going on in the communities. The same thing that's going on when we get international news too, you know, and it's like throwing a stone and hiding your hand because that's what they've been doing since the beginning, right? And I think it's important to know that we are under not just here a European rule here, but it's a European rule all over the world right now that's contributing to the atrocities and things that's going on in our culture.
Yeah.
That's got anything to do with our people. And you even mentioned Patrice Lumumba. I think that was like 1960,
Yeah.
where he brought, I think it was Belgium, right? If I'm correct, right? Was it Belgium or?
So Belgium, yeah. So after Leopold II, he basically gave us back to Belgium because he was the king of Belgium at the time, and then people started denouncing the atrocities that he committed in the DRC, and basically the country, the Kingdom of Belgium, took over, and we got our quote unquote very thick quotes our independence from Belgium in 1960. Lumumba became our prime minister and then got killed.
Why? Tell them why.
Very much because of the resources, and I think we can really attribute it to the fact that he wanted something that would have been a real independence, not something that was neo-colonial and just a disguise. And I think also the situation with Katanga at the time, which is at the time was our richest province in terms of mineral and was the price for Europeans and the US and other global powers compared to now, you know, the dynamic is a bit different with the East and the coltan that was discovered in 98-ish, 96, in our region, in the Kivus. But where Lumumba even was killed was in Katanga. So Katanga was trying to separate itself from the rest of Congo with the support of certain former quote-unquote colonial powers, the US, because they wanted to be able to still have a hold on the resources that were in that region. You have a few very interesting movies. I'll give you the titles that I think people can look up that actually explain that dynamic with Katanga, the secession, and how this was solely based on some local leaders, because we always have those traitors, the local leaders that wanted to please their European powers and also keep what it is that they could keep from those minerals, from that wealth. And then you also had those different powers. The UN, the CIA were involved in the killing of Lumumba. I think it's also important, and you mentioned it earlier, to make that link, that very direct link actually with the US. Kagame was trained in the US before he even got to do what it is that he did, entering the Congo. It's very, I don't really want to talk too much about the Rwandese genocide, but it's also important to get straight facts when it comes to the genocide in Rwanda and the fact that it wasn't only the Tutsi who suffered a genocide. You had the Hutu who were killed, the Twa who were killed in masses. And now Kagame's excuse for continuing to kill our people in Eastern Congo is that the FDLR, which is the Interamere, which is a group of military people that were at some point the génocidaires, so the Hutus who left the Rwanda,
was two presidents, right, that were
So
killed on the
yes,
airplane.
Burundi
right?
and Rwanda, yeah. So his excuse is that we still have them in our forests and in the region, and that they are still a threat to Rwanda, which at this point is not true. At this point, we have a count of more than 10 million deaths in the DRC since 94. So again, I think it's important for people to get their facts straight when it comes to the geopolitics between Uganda and Rwanda, and then the link between those countries and the West. If you actually look at the amount of money that Rwanda is getting from France, the European Union, the US right now, you can't really find those direct links, but there is, aid money that they get. There is military money that they get from those different Western countries. Right now, Rwanda is doing what it is that they are doing in the DRC too, as we are getting more and more news coming up now from Mozambique. But the first excuse for them to actually be present in Mozambique was that they needed to protect the population from an Islamist force. And coincidentally, this force was where Total Energy, the French oil company, is currently located in Mozambique. And weirdly, the French government was putting pressure on the EU to send $20 million to the Rwandese army for them to be able to defend the Mozambican population against this Islamist force.
Wow.
So it's very much the same stories that you would have had with the Katanga secession and those different powers, imperialist powers, trying to make sure that they can secure. The French were also there at that time, secure their access to those resources.
Yes, it's crazy how certain things were orchestrated, and you'll hear me referring to like some of the things that took place here in the United States, because I want people to understand the things that were being orchestrated in the Congo and different places throughout the continent of Africa, right? It was a thing called COINTELPRO that took place here. Like anytime that we had us to like stand up, we had like militant groups that would stand up against the oppressor, right? They would always use a tactic which was called COINTELPRO. This tactic would be to infiltrate these groups, and most of the time they would use our own people to infiltrate these groups and to bring them down. And it sounds like, and what I was reading about too, it sounds like that these are the things that's taking place in Africa as well, especially in the Congo and the situation between Rwanda and the Congo. And I guess Uganda has a role in it as well.
Yeah, I think it's never really safe for us to be that blatant about what is truly happening. For a very long time as Congolese, we were scared to speak about Kagame and Museveni. At this point, when you've lost family members, you've seen what rape can do to your community, and I'm sure we'll get there, but the use of rape as a weapon of war is very extensive in our region. At this point, we don't care, and I think it's the same thing in every liberation movement. That's what you can observe. At some point, they want to destroy us and drain us, but you will have the ones that will have had enough and will take those risks. I think rather, and that has been a personal work that I've done, rather than seeing it as, okay, they are draining us to the point where we'll be too washed out to fight back. I think we are getting ready to, and it will be what it will be. But we will be fighting back, because at this point, we do have the rage that we need to have. We have the courage that we need to have, and we are at this stage. But I definitely agree that you always have those people that you have to look out for.
Yeah, facts.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's also even us without realizing, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard because we have to function in white supremacy and in the West
You
in
know what we
different
always say
ways.
here?
And so,
We always said all skin folk ain't kin folk. You know what I mean? Meaning that sometimes the people that look like you know what I mean, are not on your side. Meaning that they are
Yeah.
controlled by, you know, the system as well, and they're willing to sacrifice you for their personal gain, right? We got a lot of that here. It's why we having the
do
hardest
too.
time
Yeah.
is to come together because of that. But I think, you know, like with this show, I want this to be able to, it to be a calling card, you know what I'm saying? Because for unity, you know what I mean? Not just here amongst us, but abroad, because one of the things that the Honorable Marcus Garvey used to always talk about and try to accomplish was bridging that gap between African Americans and Africa, right? Because if we can do that, if we can connect with our people, no matter where they at, we can look out for one another. We can create trade amongst each other, and we won't really need this system to survive. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep us handicapped right now. That's why some of these things are going on. And I think it's important to know what she was saying was the reason why these things are taking place in the Congo, right? And we were talking about all of the elements. You got to think about like uranium, gold, cobalt is one of the major things right now. And it's all being used. You mentioned the term, what, 96 and 97, when these things were taking place, right? The term smartphone was being coined. You know what I mean? And everybody holds these little phones today, but we don't know the sacrifice of the things is being done behind holding something like this. And we need to know what's taking place, right? So that we can hold the people that are responsible for creating these things, we can hold them accountable. You know, I don't guess we're saying stop mining, but take care of the people that's there.
Yeah.
Create situations for real. Every phone that's sold should have at least a 50 cent extra tax on it, just to go to the people in Congo. Like, that's a fact. Like, that needs to be done. Everybody benefits off of this. So you being able to pay a little extra so that people can have a decency at life is a small price to pay, right? But
Okay. Fine. I was just gonna ask, can you speak more about what exactly you do, at your foundation? Like, I know you mentioned that you can buy it, but yeah, can you tell
Yes. So I'll speak about Prynce as in how it was founded, because I think that's a very important piece of information for everyone. And I really like that you said, you know, we have to understand what is in our phones. When we buy things, we just have to be more conscious, and that's with everything, right? It's with your clothes, it's with your car, it's with your phone, and the hair that you put in your on your scalp as a Black woman, especially.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are so many things that are sold to us that are expense, and we really need to get that straight. We need to get, you know, what I was saying, or what you were saying as well, Congo being the heart of Africa, and or the challenge of Africa. I don't know if you've heard about Kwame Nkrumah's book, The Challenge of Congo, who I think it was written in 60 or published in 67 or 68, but it's basically him envisioning Congo today and how it was going to be at the grab of the West. And as long as Congo is not free, the rest of us won't be. So this is, again, trying to understand the ties, or what ties us to each other, and why, as a community, Black people just never really got the respect that we, and I hate to say it that way, but deserve. So that's that. I think, so Panzi was created in 1999 by Dr. Denis Mukwege. So he created the hospital because in '96, the hospital he was working with, or in, the hospital of Lamera was attacked by one of the Rwandese armed group that came in the DRC, and it was fully destroyed. The people he was working with, most of them died. So he was one of the people who survived. He then went to, first he fled and then went back, came back to Bukavu, built the hospital because he wanted to have a place for women to come and be able to give birth. There was a high mortality rate, infant mortality rate in the DRC, so that was his first intention. Unfortunately, the first patient that came to the hospital was a survivor of rape with extreme violence. So he received her, treated her, she went back out, passed the word, and we started receiving a lot of survivors from sexual violence. He saw that the numbers were abnormal. He saw that the type of ones that they had were with extreme violence. And so he started to speak up about it, started to receive some support. The hospital grew, and he was able to create a unit that was specifically there for survivors of sexual violence. He then created holistic care model. So survivors were coming, but they were not only receiving medical support, they were also receiving psychosocial care, they were receiving legal support, and they were also able to go through socioeconomic reintegration programs. And so in 2008, he created the foundation. So now we have the Panzi Hospital and Foundation. And with the foundation, what we are able to do is to reapplicate this model not only in Bukavu, but outside of the city of Bukavu. So now we have hundreds of healthcare structures that we support in the province and in other provinces in the DRC. We actually have expanded now outside of the DRC through other foundations as well. But this is basically the work that we've been doing. Dr. Denis Mukwege is he is incredible, and he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner from 2018. He's also a Sakharov Prize winner or a prize winner. Wrote a few books. So if anyone wants to learn about Congo the right way, please read his books and look at the work that he does. There is also the movie City of Joy that's on Netflix. The City of Joy is actually one of the organizations that is linked to the Panzi Hospital and Panzi Foundation. We all are 5 minutes away from each other.
Okay.
And the City of Joy is a center for women to go and they are intensively trained to become leaders in their community for 6 months. A beautiful place, and definitely comes out with a lot of beautiful leaders. You mentioned Maman Masika earlier.
Yeah, Maman Masika,
Her daughter, Desange, went through the City of Joy. So,
can we talk about, can I mention what actually happened to Mama Masika?
Yeah, you can.
You know, like, I read up on that story, and she was raped by 20 men, right? Not just her, but her daughters too, right? And that, man, that kind of like, it disturbed my spirit. It really did. Because to know that, just picture your mama or your daughter or your sister being defenses like that, right? Here, right, we have the so-called protection of, police force at times or whatever, right? But to be in a situation where people aren't being held accountable for what's going on or what was taking place is another thing for something like that. And she's not the only story like that. And but then just think about, like, I gotta give her her props and her flowers too, because she didn't let that destroy her, and she could have. So many people suffer from when we talk about mental health and different issues and things that would have given up, that would have checked out, and she didn't let that stop her. She ended up, I think, creating an orphanage for like over 100,000 kids or something like that, right? And was still running up until the day she passed. I think I watch a good brother on Instagram a lot, Shaka Bars.
Yeah, Shaka.
Yeah, I met Shaka when I was in Atlanta,
Okay.
and
At the
Shaka's a
festival.
good, yeah, Invest Fest.
Invest Fest,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You was in Invest Fest?
No, but yeah, I've heard about the Invest
Yeah,
Fest, yeah.
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 It's phenomenal. A lot of
Yeah.
black entrepreneurs and people coming together to try to do some things, right? Shout out to the guys, Earn Your Leisure, Rashad and them. I think they're doing something now major over in, I think in Congo
Yeah,
right
and in
now,
Ghana as
right?
well.
Yeah, in Ghana,
Yeah.
yeah. So, which is dope, but yeah, like her story was heart wrenching to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not more like people talking about, like, this is my first time hearing about this. And I know a lot of people still don't know about this.
I think, well, I heard about it, first heard about it from Shaka Bars, right? The situation that was still going on
Yeah.
right now, right? I've already, like, because I like to study history and stuff like that, from, from Malcolm to Garvey, right? Even Patrice Lumumba and his story, and Malcolm connecting with DePinto and people like that, right? That were in Africa, these leaders, right? Um, so if I knew about Leopold, I knew about that situation and stuff like that, which is crazy to me. But even today, I want to bring this up to now. It's so many millions. I mean, people that's been displaced right now in Congo.
7.3
7.3
as of
million.
May 2024. 7.3 millions, and 80% of them are because of the Rwandese occupation. And right now, Rwanda is actually occupying Congo. I think that's also something that people do not realize. That was the plan. That is the plan, to actually have part of Congo being occupied by a force that is controllable by the West. And then obviously Rwanda and Uganda, their leaders, have their own ideal of the region. You can actually watch videos where you will hear Kagame say, this was formerly, so our region was formerly Rwanda, or, and I can't even say it like that because some people claim that the issue right now is the border, and that we should, or part of us should get balkanized by Rwanda or Uganda because they think that we are theirs, which obviously we are not. Congolese people are really happy with the borders the way that they are. We just want people to leave us alone. Obviously, I am for one Africa, and I wish that we could all live together. And as Black people too, when I'm seeing the liberation movements in Martinique right now, or when I'm seeing what's happening to our Haitian brothers, or I understand that it's also my fight. Like I said, I loved that I was able to study in the Black Belt, because I think that whatever it is that Black people are going through in those different regions of the world is so intertwined, and we have to understand that in any case, if we integrate, or wherever we've integrated a burning house, in the words of MLK. I think you can see it when you go to Alabama. When you speak to people in the Black Belt, people from those communities, people in church, that is what they will tell you. Now, Black businesses just have scrambled, at a time where we were segregated. Actually, we were doing good in that way.
That's a fact.
And I think that to understand that at least we had that respect for each other, we had that love for each other, we had to lift each other up, because there was no reason for us to pay attention to something else
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a
that was
fact.
working for us.
Yeah, that
and I
ruined
think
it.
that we need to get back to something that works for us, and then we can compete.
Come on, come on, talk about it.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, shout out to MLK, right? Um, I really respected his work. I respect him as a human being. I really respected his work more toward the end of his life. Um, but at the time, everybody was all for this integration thing, right? And I got to be honest with you, when you read on it and you study, integration was one of the worst things that ever happened to us, right? And there's probably some people out there that don't want to hear that, don't want to, like, but let me tell you why. Let me give you the explanation of why. At the times when they had white only this and white only that, right? And we wasn't allowed to go into the restaurants to sit down to eat, or allowed to stay at certain hotels, but you were okay with being sent overseas to fight a war for a country that wouldn't fight for you, right? At that time, because of the limitations that we had in America, right? We had our own businesses, our own, like, restaurants, uh, hotels that we stayed at. I mean, we had a book called, look at the movie The Green Book, where it was a list of all of these black owned businesses that you were safe to go there, and to be able to go there and to sit down and have a meal, and you know, to be at certain places, certain hotels that were catered to us, so that you wouldn't get caught in these sundown towns. You know what I mean? So you know what a sundown town is? So a sundown town is when, when, say, if you're traveling from point A to point B, right? And if you wasn't where you needed to be by the time the sun went down,
Okay.
then it would put you on the target list for people to be out there, white folks to be hunting and everything. And a lot of people died like that. So these are why certain situations and things were put into place, like the Green Book, right? But that was one of the worst things that I think that ever happened to us, because as soon as we started to integrate, all of the businesses that were thriving, that were black, right? We have a brainwashing mentality when, if we have a business, right? Or it's the theory we always talk about, one person having ice and the other person having ice, right? So I'm selling ice, right? But you'll go, instead of shopping with me and I look like you, to buy your ice from me, even if it's a little cheaper, right? You'll go across the street and pay for the white man's ice, like his ice is colder than mine or something. It's
It's a
both ice.
colonized mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the same back home.
Wow.
It's the same. Anything that is not Congolese, we would rather buy. And you have to deconstruct and reconstruct your mind to think, okay, why is pro-blackness necessary? Why do I need to buy black? I think it's a larger conversation, obviously, because there are challenges to that. But I think that, again, we have to understand that money is just money. And you have to understand, okay, I'm still putting my coin there because I understand that I'm supporting something. I'm being political. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of experienced that because I've done some movies with like the Nigerian movie market, and when there was like certain roles, the producers would tell me to, like, instead of wearing, like, I have natural hair like this, but they were like, can you like straighten your hair so it can look more Caucasian? And I was just like, why? Like, it's like you said, it's like this brainwashing, and then like the skin bleaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Colorism is everywhere. And I think that's also, again, like seeing that we share the same challenges, for me, is an indication that we share the same solutions. And that, again, we have to get back to the root, make peace with that, make peace within our own communities first.
This is a fact. I mean, y'all hearing what she's saying right now? Like, we're going through the same things, whether it's in Africa or whether it's right here in America, right? We have the same struggle in different ways, but we have the same enemy. You know what I mean? I'm like, this show, we ain't afraid to talk about that.
No,
You know
and
what I
it's
mean?
the system.
It's the system. Like, we gonna call a spade a spade. It is what it is.
It's like we're designed to not love ourselves. It's like they break you down to that, you know, and I start that goes way back. It's like,
I mean,
that's another conversation.
I mean, it's systematic racism, though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
things that are put in place, and we are intelligent people, right? And they know it, and we should know it too. That anytime that we get a little bit more information, because that's the only thing that separates us from being able to take this month over, is information, right? Information to access, because anytime that we get access, we gone.
I agree.
You know?
I think it was interesting that you also mentioned the Invest Fest. And I wanted to get back to that too. I think to invest in a way that is conscious and that is, yes, within your community, but then also on the continent in different ways. Because obviously the reason why, or the way that things were kept up until now, is for people from the West to have a certain power over the continent. So I think it's very important to be very conscious, okay, what are the imbalances? You know, it's not because we are Black. I'm also partly from the diaspora, so it's not because I am Congolese that I'm not going to have to think twice when I'm going there and I'm investing and I'm buying, and how am I disrupting the market? So you have to actually understand what system were put in place that are still against us and that we don't want to participate in. We don't want to just bring capitalism to the DRC. I mean, it's there, but that's not what we want to function there. It's not going to work for us. Those are not our values. It doesn't work. Like, the reason why we have the mental health issues that we have in most places we found ourselves in is because we work on community. Like, this is how we function. We need the community. We need things to work. I'm not going to go into the socialism, communism versus capitalism discourse, but I think to, yes, understand what economic models are currently put in place and don't work for us, and are currently put in place here in the US and don't work for us. Like, what are those, and how can we recreate our own economic models for them to work for us? Earlier, you talked about the fact that we could pay more for iPhones, and but I think to just understand, we should be paying way less. What's the people at the top of Tim Cook, or, you know, Elon Musk, or why do we need billionaires? You know, why do we need them to be making that much money? And let's not even speak about the taxes, but why do we need them to be making that much money? And then on the other side, you have this miner who is potentially going to make $2 a day if he gets lucky in the DRC. I think understanding how to give more power to the communities, and that's even outside of Congo, you know, but to the people who are at the very bottom of those value chains, is important. Now, when we get back speaking about Congo, I think it's important to understand that, I don't know if you know the author Awa Thiam. She said that the Black woman, the African Black woman, is at the bottom of every part of the pyramid. I'm very much paraphrasing, but she's saying that the Black woman is at the bottom when it comes to classism. She's at the bottom when it comes to gender, and she suffers sexism, she suffers capitalism as well, and the inequalities between the nations, the woman is going to be feeling it the most. So I think to understand these different dynamics, how sexism, patriarchy actually affects us, and those things that actually were not even part of our cultures. Obviously, we had so many different cultures on the continent, and in Congo, you have 400 different tribes, so we all function differently. You have some tribes that work with matriarchal values, some more patriarchal, but the way that we applied that to make our communities, our families function, our social fabric function, were very different. And I think for us to get back into that, to also understand why sometimes we find ourselves to be violent in certain contexts or feel the way that we feel mentally is very important. And going back to the roots of those things is the only way that we can reconstruct what it is that can work for us.
This is true. This is true. I 100% agree with that, right? I think we need to be careful too with knowing that the situation that our sisters are in, right? We need to be careful with the thing, the term, what is it? Feminization, right?
Feminism.
Feminism, right? Because they try to integrate again their women into the situation with our women, and it hides the fact that what's really going on with our women, right?
Yeah.
I think so. You know
Yeah,
what I
think
mean?
it's different. I think African feminism, and that's African feminism or feminism for Black women here in the US, takes a different form because we have to deal with different intersectionalities. I think, again, the African woman, the African Black woman has to deal with different layers of oppression. We are definitely more vulnerable because there is an issue with patriarchy in general in different ways. But like you mentioned Mama Masika going through what she went through. She also went through that because she was stigmatized. So when she was raped in 1999, she lost her husband, and then losing her husband, who was actually chopped. He was chopped, and if I remember well, she had to eat part of his penis. You actually can find Mama Masika's interview on YouTube, and she speaks about that. And so Mama Masika was stigmatized. She was not accepted by her husband's family anymore because she was raped. So the fact that she was raped made her she lost her quote unquote honor in that way. And so that meant that she had to do her life by herself. And then, like you said, her two daughters got raped, and they were 14 and 12 at the time. They both got pregnant. So then you are a woman alone with the kids that you have left. You have that trauma. You now have grandkids to take care of who are fruit of rape. And children who are fruits of rape are very often not accepted by their mother. So you have to go through all of those things, obviously going back to destroying a social fabric and using rape as a weapon of war, but also going back to what patriarchy does and some values or ideas that if you get touched by a man, regardless of if it was a choice or not, you will be dishonored. You aren't worth anything as a woman. That adds to that weight that we have to carry as women as well. And those are not things obviously that needs to be included in the type of feminism that we see back home. The feminists that we see back home, they will speak about those things. They will go knock on doors and say, yes, I'm a survivor, but I'm still someone that you need to respect. I'm a woman. I am part of this community. I put this community together. I'm a glue in many ways, I'm a piece of the puzzle. And I think it has to, in some ways, it has to exist. I do think that and I think this is a larger debate, but I do think that sexual violence, also, especially with the news of the elections here in the US and the type of people that Trump has appointed to his cabinet, I think that sexual violence and sexual violence on children and on women, you still can see that link in the different in different places in the world. And I think we can't deny that sometimes women do need to unite, regardless of our skin color, regardless of our background. We do need a certain form of feminism, or however you want to call it, but we do need that activism to exist.
I said that because it was so many things that took place, right, during the 60s, when we were fighting for civil rights and women's rights. When we were fighting for these things, they tried to mask it with, okay, when we fighting for civil rights for us, for black people as a whole, which is liberating us all, right? Then they brought in, let's do women's rights, and they pushed their women in on the movement that was going on with us, which kind of put what was going on with us on the background. Because for real, in the system that we live in, right, it's westernized society, misogyny and all of these different things it's a taught behavior, right? Because when you look at the culture of Europeans, the Romans, and I don't get too deep in it, but when you look at the culture of some people that's around the earth, these are the things that they practiced a lot. So then when you take a people where you strip them of everything, and then you're bringing them up in your society, right? You're pretty much creating a different type of, a new human being, right? You're putting your behaviors on them, because by nature, I'm saying all day, by nature, black people are righteous people. We are by nature. And it gets twisted up or messed up. I say fucked up when other cultures are coming in and enforcing their culture and behaviors and different things like that on us. But taking it back to, like I said, I think we need to be careful, and we need to really focus on us. Because I think every time that we get caught up in letting everybody else join the movement sometimes, and I'm not saying that, there's nobody out there that we can't band with or that's not gonna be for us, but they don't need to be at the head of our organizations. They don't need to hold positions in what we doing, right? I think that everything that we do that's concerning black needs to stay black, right? And if you want to be an ally, then stay on the sidelines. We'll throw you the ball when we need to throw you the ball. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, let's hold it down. And if we do that, then we're gonna be able to take care. We're gonna be able to be men like we're supposed to be, and take care of our families the way they're supposed to be taken care of. We're gonna be able to take care of her. We're gonna be able to make sure that she's treated right. We're gonna be able to protect our women. We're gonna be able to protect our children. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that I hold dear. These are the things that the reason why we create and do what we do here, because these are some of my values, and these are the things that I'm teaching my son. You know what I mean? And I know that it's a lack of that type of thing. It's not just only going on here, but all over the world, right? One of the things that I noticed, because I was in the military once upon a time, I was in the Army, but that was a part of my journey, right? The military, because it allowed me to see the rest of the world. And when I went to see the rest of the world, I saw people that looked like me. And they were in similar situations and worse than some of the situations that was going on here. But we was going through something here, you know what I'm saying? So, and it just made me think like, oh, no matter where we go in the world, we always acceptable to poverty and injustice. I remember MLK said what? Injustice anywhere is justice everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I thank you though for what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And talking about the organization. Is there anything else that you want to add about the organization? Any other?
People want to be a part, like
How they can support. So first thing I want to say is my opinions are my own. The organization is a big part of me, and I've been working with Dr. Mukwege for a very long time.
Shout out to you. For real.
For him, but it's obviously we all have our own ways of wanting to address that. It's so complex. I think we also need to give each other, as Black people, as Africans or African Americans and other Afro descendants, the grace that we deserve in fighting this back. I think it's important to engage with Congolese organization, because right now you do have a lot of organizations who are supporting the DRC, but who are not necessarily Congolese. And again, I think it's easier because, especially if they are in the US or in Europe, or people can feel more familiar with the people who speak about the issue. But like you said, even if, yes, it's us and it's generally Black people who are doing that and supporting the Congolese people, people also need to understand when they need to be ally to us as Congolese people and throw us the ball back so that we can throw it when we need to. But I think Panzi in so many ways has been a pioneer in the DRC, but also in the rest of the world. This is why Dr. Mukwege got the Nobel Peace Prize. It's because the holistic care model was it was created in Panzi the way that it was, and it's now being replicated in different countries where rape is being used as a weapon of war. So to understand the excellence that you have in the DRC, because I've also seen some people, and again, I understand that, again, we all deserve that grace, and I understand that people intend to support the DRC in different ways. I think we need to be careful not to become saviorism or apply white saviorism in our practices. And I think what I've seen a lot is, for example, some people want to go to the DRC to take trips as doctors or nurses to go and support people in the camps. We have doctors, we have nurses, and it's actually a little bit insulting sometimes to see that there is also, again, this saviorism that you can recognize in our own people. Like, we know how we've been treated in every place of the world. We are always treated as if we aren't enough. We are enough. You have everything in Congo. So I think going through pioneers or leaders in what it is that they are doing, people like Panzi, where you have literally experts, because our model is holistic. So we have lawyers, we have economists, we have people who are specialized in responsible sourcing. We have, so going through us, and then we have a school, like going through those Congolese organizations that you can find. There is Heal Africa as well, or Isofepadi. I can give you some of the names if you want to tag them as well. Yeah, please do. But I think, just...
and for anybody that want to support out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and again, like, everyone's work is important. I'm so thankful for allies, but as you were saying, allies needs to stay
Yeah,
alive.
that's a fact. That's a fact. That means don't try to reinvent the wheel. Support what's already going on. Give them the backing that they need. You know what I mean? And then ask, do you need any assistance? Do you need any extra doctors? Not just try to go over there. Yeah. So I get that.
But I also want to say, because you mentioned him, so I just want to clarify, Shaka is doing, he's not Congolese, but he's one of ours. He's doing amazing work back home. I've seen it with my eyes. He speaks, Swahili. He's really doing his best to really do things in ways that are respectful of our culture and our communities. And I think, and he's on the ground. I think that's another thing too. I understand that not everyone can be underground. A lot of people are scared. It's not that bad. That didn't sound very reassuring, but it's
No. That need to be said though. That need to be said because
really not that bad.
I even watched the interview of Shaka a while back, right? And I don't know if you know Billy Carson, right? Forbidden Knowledge. It's another show, but a lot of people don't know that. They thinking like, yo, as soon as I get off the plane, yo, it's on and popping. You know what I'm saying? I might get shot as soon as I get off the plane. No, it's not like that. It's just like
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit, or being here in DC, right? You got certain areas that you just don't go to, that you might get robbed or you might get shot, right? Stay from right there. But no, not as soon as you get off the plane, it's on and popping. You need to no. Because that's a stigma that's going on. People think that, when they getting off of the plane, they think that it's, it's going crazy. It's World War III. Like, no. No, yeah, see.
But then also, Congo is so huge. Like, you have other cities like Kinshasa, Lubumbashi, where you have 0 armed groups. And I think for people to also understand, okay, we are speaking about the war sometimes, but when we are speaking about cobalt, for example, that's not even in a region that actually has war. There is human rights. There are human rights violations on the value chain with cobalt. It's in Katanga, so the province where Lumumba got killed. But it's not in the Kivus where you have the Rwandese occupation. Okay. So, by the way, Rwanda has been there now for more than 830 days.
Because they don't have cobalt in Rwanda, but they're dealing with, I think it's up to 150,000 tons of cobalt that they're getting right now, and for real, it's projected to double 2025.
In the DRC, so that region, that is something, and that is, I think actually what you just said is helping me make my point, because of the amount of information that is out there on Congo, which sometimes is not precise. I think it's important for this information to be out, so I also understand that sometimes those details are not that important. But what I was trying to contextualize is we have coltan in Eastern Congo, gold. So we have the 3 T's, what we call the 3 T's, which is tin, tantalum, and tungsten, and that's the coltan. And it's used for similar things because it's also used in electronics and all of that, in weaponry, so in the defense and weapon industry. And then you have the cobalt that is in Katanga. So the cobalt, which a lot of people are talking about that, and children in mining, that is different from what we are experiencing in the East, which is the genocide, which is the killing and raping of our women and men in Eastern Congo. And that's also kind of where I was trying to go with, people can come to Congo. You can come to Lubumbashi. You can come where the cobalt is and where there is an issue with the value chain as well, because you do have children working in the mines. You do have human rights violations, but you won't have military people there. You won't be in danger. Actually, you can go and see it with your eyes. You can look at the children. What's his name? CD, I don't know his full name, but the man who wrote the book Red Cobalt, which I think it's CD, starts with S. His last name is Kara. He actually filmed the cobalt mines. He went in, a lot of Westerners go often. Very often, those Westerners are white people. But you are also welcome to come and see it for your eyes. Maybe, yes, don't go in the mines in the East at the moment because of the Rwandese occupation. But I think to learn more about, okay, how can we maybe then deal with cobalt and create responsible sourcing initiatives, support jewelries. Yeah, there is.
Responsible way.
We work here in the US with the Black in Jewelry Coalition. That is a coalition of Black jewelries in the US, and they're expanding to connect to jewelries in the rest of the world. And those are jewelers you want to support. Some of them are actually going to Africa themselves, even if they are African Americans and don't necessarily have this direct tie to the specific countries that they go to. But some of them go to Botswana, they go there, they go in the mine so that they can see, okay, what am I actually putting in my jewelry? That is actually, to me, you can see that it starts in Africa, it finishes here, it stays in the same community, and you can support those type of initiatives.
And it's safe and nobody's dying for a diamond or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's good to look up the Black in Jewelry Coalition as well. Actually, I'll also.
Got it. Locked in.
Those books that you said by the founder.
So you have The Power of Women, which is his most recent book, and I think is the most extensive for people to have an understanding of how the war started and the type of work that he has been doing and why the focus on women is important. What made him a feminist? I think it's the book to start with. There is also the book Panzi that he wrote with Dr. Kadier, who is a doctor who has been working with him on non-invasive surgery for survivors of sexual violence, because obviously they wanted to find a way to not add on to the trauma for survivors that would come at the hospital.
That's a fact. I remember read that Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that 75% of God's work is with the woman. You know what I'm saying? And that being said, like, a man can teach an individual, right? But a woman teaches a nation, and we need to understand that that's why we're failing, because the woman is not being protected and respected at the caliber of who she is. You know what I mean? And it's very important. It's very important y'all do your research on Congo too. Just to give you, it's the heart chakra of the world. Everything comes from there. Think about that. Everything comes from the Congo. I mean, I think it's like 85% of Africa's water, fresh water, comes from Congo. Man, but it's like 45 or 50% of Congolese just got access to it though, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Less than half of it. Yeah. And then you also have the mining companies, including the ones connected to people like Dan Gertler, the person that the U.S. is currently negotiating. So they put sanction on Dan Gertler, which is this Israeli business owner from the DRC. He's a billionaire. He made his billions being in the mining industry in the DRC and being the friend of all of our different presidents since he's been there. He got sanctioned from the U.S. I think in 2017, and they now want to lift the sanctions. Why? This man committed crime, corruption, but we are discussing lifting the sanctions because there is this competition with China right now, who has a very important presence in the DRC at the moment. They own approximately
About 15
80%. Yeah,
15 mining.
which is 80% of
mines
our
out there.
cobalt
Yeah.
mining. So it's abnormal, that is for
Yeah.
sure. But this is not necessarily a reason to justify lifting sanctions so that they can access those mines. That's kind of the deal that the DRC government is trying to do with the U.S. is if you lift the sanction, then you can access Dan Gertler's
They're always trying to
mines.
do something covertly. Like,
Yeah.
do you think it's a good idea that China is coming in and doing what they're doing? I mean, Africa has been raped and pillaged of its resources for so long, right? But then you have the Chinese coming in now and with different business proposals and stuff like that, and providing money and trying to build certain areas up.
I think the issue with China or Chinese stakeholders is that you also have the Chinese stakeholders. So they are in both markets. They are in the formal one and the informal one. It's less so easy to prove or less so out in the light that Westerners will do that. You have Westerners that are in the black market and they are literally controlling it in the DRC. Like I mentioned that Dan Gertler, but you also have people like Crowley. Like there are a few names that we can also that actually and that is the problem. People don't really speak about it. You have to read reports and dig to actually find those names of those people who actually have been supporting those armed groups in Eastern Congo the most. And in so many ways we're linked to the different dynamics that you can see with the movements of the groups coming from Rwanda but you have to read those reports, and I understand that that can be overwhelming for people, but it actually doesn't take that much time. And I'm very happy if I can share those links with you and some of those reports.
Absolutely.
But I think what I'm trying to say is that the West is very much using, I would say, other countries like China's practices that are a bit less hidden against them, in the sense that now they will negotiate with Congolese stakeholders saying, oh, but they don't respect your human rights, da-da-da. If they respected us, if the West respected our human rights, we would have had reparations by now.
It's a fact.
So I think China coming in is a way for us to be able to have those conversations. It's a way for us to be able to leverage what we have that they don't have. Why is China coming? Why is the West coming? Because they don't have what we have. So I think it's a good thing, because it's like when you have two people courting you at the same time, right? You can say, well, on this side I have that. You have more choice. You have more leverage. So I think it's...
The West always want to come in by force, though. You know what I'm saying?
And they want to be our first love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. They want to be the main one.
Yeah.
But I think, it's giving us leverage.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, we just shouldn't even be here to where, we have to court or date one or the other, because we should be the masters of our own destiny. You know what I mean? Yeah. Black people got so souped up when Black Panther came out, Wakanda, right? Not knowing that they directly was talking about the Congo. Like, that's what that movie was talking about. Yeah, that's what that movie is based on.
Yeah.
Because Wakanda had which is a fictional place.
No, but now that I think back, they had everything.
Yeah, they had everything there.
They were making the weapons with the...
So, but not knowing that you really needed to dig deeper and find out what... even in Black Panther 2, Angela Bassett mentioned
Lumumba.
being
She's his
Lumumba.
daughter.
Yeah, being the daughter of Lumumba. Like, come on. Like, they know this, though, all right? And we mentioning these things, but then nothing's being done. Come on, people. We got to get it together. Come on.
We have to focus.
Yeah,
and like I said,
focus.
we have so many books. Malcolm X said it too. We can't expect Mississippi to straighten out without having Congo straight out first Frantz Fanon, I believe, called Congo. So Africa is a gun and Congo is a trigger. So all those Pan-Africanists who understand that you have to focus, and again, I will call Shaka that too. We have to understand that we have to focus on Congo first for our liberation in general. There are too much indication, and I think again the different, and I'm sorry because I think I did mess up a little with some dates, but you definitely have revolutions that you can follow that were industrial revolutions and revolutions for the West. So new cars, new smartphones, the uranium for the bombs, and Hiroshima, and
the Manhattan Project.
And then you can connect it to
come on.
Our oppression. So I think understanding that, then understanding where African Americans come from, people in Martinique, like some of those islands, most of their population is Congolese. So just for people to understand, okay, actually we are coming from the Kingdom of Congo. Why did they take our names away from us? Why did they want us to forget that? I think it's really about also understanding, as an Afro descendant, why am I letting go of that side of me? Is it because I've been asked to, I've been imposed to, and why?
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know how important it is, and they think it's not important, right? I must say, meeting you, you got me wanting to trace my roots back. I thought about it before, but you got me, like, you got it back on my brain.
Please let
Like,
me know.
I am. I'm gonna let you know, for real, for real. Hey, maybe he goes back to Congo. Maybe I'm Congolese.
You could be.
From
Kasai, the province of Kasai.
The handsomeness, But yeah. But no, look. Once again, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for taking the time out to come on and to share your thoughts with the people and providing important information.
Thank you.
Know what I'm saying? It's much needed. Hope to have you back again soon. And we're gonna tap in, man, and we're gonna make some things happen. We're gonna get some donations and stuff going way too, because that's one of the things that I always thought about.
The right way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But never knew where to actually put the donation, right? I only got to talk to Shaka like briefly, and because he was moving around trying to do so much, but I did have an idea for him that I wanted to present to him to help fund what he was doing. But hey, I got you.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Africa
Maybe it was this where it was supposed to go. That's why that conversation didn't take place the way I wanted it to at the time, because
everything happens for a reason.
God working mysterious ways, right?
It does.
Yeah, so let's go.
Oh,
But
thank you.
yeah. Thanks, Lanae. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I was literally quiet because it was heavy. Like it was a lot to take in, and I just appreciate you, sharing your journey and like, just sharing everything. Yeah, guys, go get those books that she mentioned. Do your research, and yeah, let's try to support.
That's right.
Thank
That's
you,
right.
Lanae.
Yeah. Shout out to Gadget. But this is another episode of For the Culture. We'll see you next time. Peace.